Welcome to this episode of CynSpeaks. In this episode, we're going to discuss trauma, especially adult trauma, and how that trauma is influenced by your ego and heart, and also how that trauma can be used to help you expand. So, when I talk about trauma, I'm referring to the things that happen to us, or even the trauma that we inflict on others. Now, the trauma that we inflict on other people, it's so important that we're mindful of that and really try to avoid doing that. Try to avoid hurting others because of your hurt. That's huge. That's difficult to do for some, but it's really important that you start to be mindful and heart-based with regards to how your trauma can affect other people, because really what we want to do is to grow. Each and every day is to do better and enjoy it. Enjoy the process of growing. And if we're inflicting harm on others, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't make us feel good. So if you are not dealing with your trauma can then turn into actions that hurt other people. So trauma is important to deal with. As an adult, we experience trauma, and a lot of the times that trauma is connected to a childhood trauma. If we're dealing with rejection as an adult, we probably had issues of rejection as a child. That's what most psychological theorists believe. Most of our psych textbooks will tell us that, but also just life. If you think about it, the things that hurt you as an adult probably are the same as the things that hurt you as a child. And the first time something hurt you, it probably wasn't as an adult. It was probably as a child. So I have an episode about childhood trauma. You can go back to that to learn a little bit about how to deal with childhood trauma and the importance of dealing with that. But right now we're going to talk about adult trauma and also how that trauma can help you expand and grow, especially in the spiritual journey. So when you experience trauma as an adult, any experience that kind of shakes you up or is a pattern interrupt, something that interrupts you from your normal patterns and habits. Sometimes this could look like a traumatic event, like a car accident or something. It could look like you losing a job, but sometimes those things happen to us to guide us forward to an expansion. I actually think, at least for me, I can say for a fact that everything that's happened to me has actually happened for me to grow. And those things had to happen for me to start moving forward in a different direction, in a better direction that set me up for some amazing things. So I now see how those things guided me into a different direction, but in the moment it's difficult to see how that may help you. And sometimes it's crazy to think that what somebody else did to you or what you're going through may be for the better. And don't think I'm crazy by saying it. It doesn't mean that what you're going through doesn't hurt, but it's going to help you. I can tell you about a time where I thought my life was falling apart. And it's really beautiful because it didn't happen, for one, but it actually set me up to grow. And it's actually one of the reasons why I started recording the podcast and really dedicated myself to the podcast. So I had a situation in my life that required me to just believe that everything was going to be okay, because I didn't have anything else to hold on to. I didn't have a plan, but I took a leap of faith, and immediately, as soon as I took that leap, things started to set themselves up, and I was okay. Not only was I okay, I was good. I was really good. And it was because I just did it anyway. I was scared, but I did it anyway. And that required for me to expand and resulted in even a further expansion. So it required me to kind of spread my wings and fly, but also cocoon and look within all at the same time. And it shut down so many projects that I had going. I was such a busy person, and I was working for a client that actually 2 clients, and I was working like 80 hours a week for those 2 clients. And then I was teaching at the university, teaching at the junior college, teaching at the high school. I think I was doing all 3 at the same time, which was crazy. And still being a mom and trying to figure out personal relationship stuff. And I was just spread really thin. And I did that for so many years, and for so long it became my normal. And then life literally started stripping those things away one by one. I stopped teaching. I couldn't get contracts. Like, it was crazy. I actually went through a phase of being unemployed for a few months, and I didn't understand why, but I had to look within. Like, life was giving me time to focus on me, and I asked for that time. But I didn't realize it was going to happen as quickly as it did, and I also didn't realize that it was going to be as extreme as it was. And it happened, and I'm so thankful that it did. The second that I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna jump, even though I'm a little afraid and I don't have a plan, which it is so challenging for me to move without a plan, or it was. It's becoming easier. I moved without a plan, which for me is not a thing. And it felt so good. I'm so thankful that I did. It really required me to just fly, just go. And it felt good. And it worked out. It worked out. That was the huge takeaway, is that it worked. And it started to set itself up after I took the step. So if you're going through a traumatic situation, remember that the universe or God or whatever you want to call it is waiting for you to take the first step of faith for things to start to get a little better. Believe that they will get better, and they will. You want to make sure that you are focusing and taking whatever time for yourself through the healing process as far as recovering from the trauma. In the moment, your focus may be the other person, if somebody else is causing you hurt and how terrible they are and why they shouldn't do it. You're pointing the finger the other way. If that's what you're doing, just stop, because it's not going to help you. Now, your thoughts may be true. They may be a terrible person. But really, if you think of every adult as just a kind of a hurt child, you're going to see people differently. And even if they are causing you harm, that's their journey. Let them deal with that. All you can control is yourself. And even that's hard to control sometimes. So why try to control somebody else? Focus on you and look at what you can do in the situation. Okay, they're doing this, but what can I do? How can I react to this situation? How can I use this to my advantage? How can I use this to grow? How can I use this to do better? Use this as an opportunity to show the world what you're made of. Like, this is your chance to shine and to grow. And I promise you that if you choose to look within instead of point the finger the other way, no matter what they did, if you just choose to look within, you're going to thank yourself for it after the fact. I promise you will. You will be thankful that you, instead of spending energy on what you can't control, put your focus on the things that you can and started creating a more intentional and positive life for yourself. You'll thank yourself. So think about that. Think about the fact that trauma and traumatic experiences can be used in our path to push us towards something greater and better. I wholeheartedly believe that. I've seen it, I've lived it, and I know that it's also true for you. So if you focus on your expansion, even within your trauma, how is this helping me? What is the lesson that I need to learn from this? You'll grow from it. On the other side of the coin, the other side of it is that if you don't learn the lesson, life is going to keep dishing it out to you. And I can tell you that from experience as well. If you are in romantic relationships and you keep getting hurt the same way over and over and over again in those romantic relationships, it's probably because you aren't getting the lesson. And I can promise you that each time you get hurt, it's going to hurt worse. So that could be, the lesson could be that you're not choosing people that are in alignment with who you are. It could be that you are picking people that are on a lower vibration. It could be that you need to learn patience. It could be that you need to learn to forgive. It could be that you need to learn to recognize your worth and not settle. Like there actually probably are many lessons, but it could be any of those lessons that you need to learn. So maybe look at the things that you've been through only for the sake of seeking the lesson, and learn the lesson so that your future can be better. So when you're designing this intentional lifestyle and this life that you are creating with purpose, think about the traumas that you've experienced. And if those are things maybe you brought on yourself. I know that sounds terrible because some things are just happen, right? Some things really do just happen. So I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about in relationships. Maybe you're choosing the same type of guy and you keep getting hurt the same type of way. It's probably a sign to look at yourself. Why do I keep choosing this type of person? Why do I keep choosing somebody that's hurting me? Why do I allow the hurt to continue? Do I really value myself? Am I requiring others to value me as well? Do I know how to set boundaries? So you really just want to look at that. And those are just a couple of the questions that I had to ask myself. But yours could look different. And your scenarios could look different. It could be work. Why do I pick these jobs that I hate? Why do I accept commitments that I really don't want to do? What is it within me that is allowing me to go through the same thing over and over again? So think about that as you're going through trauma and trying to heal from it and grow from it, because it could just be something that you need to adjust with your approach. It could also be mindset focused. It could be energetic focused. You could be vibrating just on a lower level because you're minding negative thoughts more and you're entertaining those and you're creating a home for negativity. Maybe you're attracting that. So just really just look at your life as you go through the traumatic situation and know that you're going to get through it. Know that it's going to be okay at the end of the day. You're going to be fine, and really be mindful that whatever you focus on will continue, even in the middle of a traumatic situation. Whatever you focus on will grow. So if you want to escape a traumatic situation, the best thing to do is find some type of good in the world, in yourself, in the situation, some type of lesson, and focus on that so it will continue. This is a heavy one. I really hope it helps. As always, add me on Instagram at Cynamon Voe or use the hashtag CynSpeaks if you're reposting. Make sure you comment, you like, you share the episodes so that we can grow the podcast and help so many more people. That's all for now.